Yeah, good evening, Hazel. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, this looks like being a real titanic struggle, as Rob Walker said. World number one, Neil Robertson. And, of course, playing Stephen Maguire, who is capable, on his day, of beating anyone. And it just depends how he plays tonight.
Yes, but what he is capable of doing is being his own man out there, being his own boss.
First frame, Neil Robertson to break.
I've been noticing quite a few times this week, Steve, with the break-up shot. They've been playing it with a bit of extra pace to try and get the yellow to cover the potable red.
Yeah, it's slightly a risk, but it seems to work out better. It's the closer you can get to that yellow, the more of a goalkeeper it is. And just playing for the bottom cushion, perhaps it isn't as much of an advantage as it used to be. Bit lucky there to get away with that, Stephen Maguire, after missing the red on the top cushion.
Just a little bit thin with that contact, and he's left a possible pot on here now for Neil Robertson. Now, in his last match, for Neil Robertson, his long potting was very average. What's it going to be like this evening? Looks a bit more like we expect, and that's a nice kiss on the black. Okay, he played the cannon, but he couldn't have expected it to work out like this. Could have picked it up with his hand, he couldn't have put it any better.
In potting this black, there is enough of an angle that he could go into the reds, but he could then be just stuck on them. So you can see what he's lining up, the outside of the three reds into the right corner. But perhaps it's not time to go into the pack just yet. Unfortunately, if he played for that position, he's a very confident cue of the ball.
8.
Well, that's horrible.
Yeah, this is a long bridge, isn't it? Yes, this is very tricky.
I mean, to some degree, if he knew it was going to end up there, perhaps he could have played it harder. But how softer could he have played it? But, well, this is very missable with such a wobbly bridge. So missable, I think he's going to choose a different shot.
Yeah, it was declared a touching ball, so it's an easy escape back to the ball cam. But after the opening red and position on the black, he'll be disappointed that's all he scored.
Thank you. Foul on a miss. Neil Robertson 4.
No damage done.
Thank you.
Been a few players playing up and down the table on thin balls this week. John, I've noticed they've missed a few thinking that the table's rolled off one way or the other, but I've seen sort of balls roll off equal sides.
Yeah, of course it can always run over a finger mark, a little bit of chalk dust. I learnt this week though, I thought that you had to see both sides of a red. Apparently if you can make full contact and you miss it 3 times, then you lose the frame. It was news to me, that. But that's the better shot the second time around.
Yes, there's a few anomalies with the miss rule. And that's one of them. Containing safety shot there. Thought there was a chance of Stephen Maguire to come off the red nearest the pink, open a few reds and get behind the green, but he's keeping it tight.
That's the one thing that frustrates a professional snooker player more than anything. Well, maybe the kick frustrates them a bit more, but to catch your baulk colour, because that means you've not played a good safety. And there's a good target here behind the brown and green.
See Neil Robertson there. His cue. His cue right under his right eye. Bang in line with that right eye. As opposed to other players who have their eyes equally over the cue, or some over their left eye.
Good escape. I don't know whether Neil can get in behind the brown again here. No, not quite.
This safety shot from Stephen Maguire, should he choose the one that's just poking out to the right of the pink, would open things up pack-wise. He doesn't really want to do that. He's not sure how those reds are going to open up, so that's a last resort shot. At this level, you try not to let red stray anywhere towards the corners. But it looks like he's playing it.
Yeah, he's played it pretty well, just catching the yellow. I think there's, well, you never know with Neil, he's such a good potter. But it's dangerous, he's not certain to be on a colour. Ooh, right in the heart of the pocket. And as I said earlier, this is something we didn't see the other evening, which was a surprise. Because this is one of his great strengths, these long pots. Look at that, right in the heart of the pocket. He'll be feeling good about himself at the moment.
Superb shot. You know, sometimes that, you know, the first long pot you have to attempt, if it goes in, it could be the difference between a good day and a bad day on the table. Certainly in that department. Nothing like cracking a few of those in to allay the nerves. Bit of work now to do though to keep the break going. It's a bit messy up the top of the table. Number of reds blocking the path for the black.
6.
He could play for the black in the same pocket as the red, but looks as though he's going to... Well, the pink's available, so I'll just drop it in, play for the pink into the middle.
Thank you. 7.
Not sure exactly if the pink spots now, John, does it? Your commentators are. You spend many more hours in here. Oh, I see. Miles.
Well, the director give it away. I was going to say, of course it spots. Well, would you believe it? The good long balls he's potted, and he's missed a sitter.
Wasn't far out, but it was far enough. Steve Maguire working out that if he pots the black and it goes back on the spot, what other reds then go into the right corner? Should he try and simplify things a bit before he tries to make it more complicated in that department? Still not a clear-cut chance, but it's one he'd like to score a few points from.
1.
There's a red of the 3 in the line across the table of 3 reds that does pot into the right corner. Looks like the one he's played, and in potting this red he can
8.
properly clear that pink spot. It's tight though. There's a lot of intricate shots to be played yet.
Yes, and he is hampered. And when you can't get to the middle of the cue ball, you're having to put a little bit of side on the cue ball, so you've got to allow for the throw. This is a tricky little shot. It may not look it, but it's tricky, this. If you could get to the middle of the cue ball, this red wouldn't be a problem. Just got to judge the throw, but having to put a lot of the right-hand side on. Played it well.
9.
Not sure how that's panned out.
15.
Well, now the pink's good on its spot. Not very well.
It was so easy to go wrong with that break. Just the safety. Will he be disappointed with that?
Steve Maguire. 15.
Yeah, always disappointing when you get a good opportunity and you don't score as many as you feel you ought to. But he didn't let his disappointment affect the safety shot, and that's a good one. A little bit to think about now for Neil. No return to balk, so just playing the containing safety. Now, there is a red that pots along the top cushion. It's tricky. He's got a slight angle. If he rolls it in, he could have the pink to the right middle. I wouldn't think he'd want to be forcing it out for the black in the same pocket. That would make the red even more difficult. Well, he did play the screw.
One.
It seemed to come off that cushion. Funny, do you think he put a little bit of side on that?
Yeah, I think he put a bit of unwanted side spin on. He should have cleared. And it straightened up. It seemed as if perhaps there was a little bit of right-hand spin on that shot. Only needs a fraction. But the way he struck it, I thought it was a good shot.
Blue pot.
Trying to tuck him behind the yellow. Stop Neil Robertson playing that. Was he going for the pot? Surely not. He is. Yeah, of course he is. In the middle.
He may have got it. He may have got it. That's not what the doctor ordered.
6.
The worst piece of commentary that's turned out well. I thought he was definitely going to play behind the yellow. As it was an excellent safety shot, although... Yeah, he's really put himself in trouble there, yeah, marvellous. I must admit, playing the blue across the face behind the yellow would have probably been a better safety shot, looking at it. I know he's got it perfect, but...
Well, he's having a look to see if these reds will be available if he plays safe off the red on the left-hand side of the table. But surely if he comes down the right-hand side of the table, just before the middle pocket, top cushion, nestling into those 3 reds just to the right of the black, surely that's the shot. Well, maybe he's playing this because he can hit this red. He can't pot it, he can hit it. He thinks just by leaving the cue ball near the top cushion it'll be safe.
Stephen Maguire, 6.
Well, does this bottom red pot?
Well, if it does, it's a pretty poor shot, but surely he had a look at it. Yeah, it looks like at least 2 of those reds go, but actually... I think that red goes, you know. Obviously from Stephen Maguire's perspective, it didn't. You feel like with a bit of left-hand side spin, you could flick that red in, but if both players have seen the situation and decide it's a very low risk, a high risk, then I bow to them from their perspective. That certainly doesn't go. That's a safety shot. But both players got to be careful of that red by the middle pocket.
Well, he's got a good length with the cue ball, but I'm thinking this red may just cut to the left middle. It's certainly very thin, but if he tries to play a safety shot, get the cue ball back to balk, then that'd be a problem. If he does play the thin cut, he wouldn't have much clue where the cue ball's going to go. But as I say, I'm sure this is cuttable, but maybe he thinks it's too risky. Oh, if that was the only thing he could come up with, I suggest he should have played the cut into the middle pocket.
1.
Get the feeling that the table's playing a lot quicker tonight than it did for Neil Robertson's first round match. Overstruck that by some way.
Tried to recover
Neil
the
Robertson
situation now with a pot on the green. He's potted a couple of good long balls, but just shows you he missed that easy pink when he was in a little while ago, and that might have just affected his confidence slightly.
One.
Well, he's played that well, perfectly on the blue. But these reds are a little bit awkward. It's not a straightforward opportunity, this.
Not what he played.
Six.
You know the bottom red of those two has been refused, so this is a risk. Tough shot he's got to take on.
Well, you called it, Steve, and it was a tough shot, but boy, didn't he play it well. Excellent pot.
And still positional problems for Stephen Maguire. He's playing to screw into these reds. Might play around the back. Thought for a minute he'd set up to screw into them.
14. $15.
So this is a great chance now.
22.
Just leave a nice little angle on the black. To
20.
open up those three reds. And if this goes right, it should give him the first frame. Wow. He'd be absolutely disgusted with himself there to miss a cannon. It seemed harder to miss than to get. Amazing. Just flicked the red. He wanted to hit it half ball.
Yeah, he chose to hit a specific part of that red rather than just colliding into the three. He's trying to take out the luck element there. As it turned out, all went wrong. A reprieve for Neil Robertson. Be a tough clearance with the green where it is, but chance to get back into the frame at the very least. Opening shot though is a tough one. No disgracing missing that. Very difficult shot off the cushion. Across the table.
Yeah, and it was one of those, wasn't it? It was straight enough that if you just didn't have the red in the middle of the pocket, you could have run through enough.
One.
Fantastic shot, and whilst he's not guaranteed to be on the blue or on a colour, he's got control of the table, and tactically he's going to have a very big advantage if he decides to roll up behind this brown. The blue is potable, but it's risky.
Foul. Neil Robertson 1. Stephen Maguire 4.
The classic schoolboy error, John.
Unbelievable. He was just trying to get it so tight to the brown to cut off the one cushion escape. Forgot to hit the brown.
If you looked at how many times you do that and how many times it costs you a frame and a match, you'd always make sure you hit it, but you still go back to your old ways of making sure you try to get as close as possible, make it harder for your opponent. You never learn.
Foul on the miss.
Stuck it up, but
Steve
Steve
Maguire
Maguire
for-
may well decide to put him back in. It's a bit risky playing this cut back.
Yes, and he has decided to put it back in. Beyond the realms of possibility that he could hit it this time and get it safe. He's had a practice go. I think he's trying to come off 1, 2, 3 cushions, hitting the top cushion and nestling to the red. It's a bit narrow, this, is it? No, this looks good. This looks very good. Well played.
Of course, if you knew your opponent was going to get out of it the second time, you'd have perhaps taken the shot on, but you have to weigh up all of the chances. Chance to get behind the yellow of 2 cushions. The risk trying to get in tight here. You made sure that you got that red behind the pink as well. Good shot.
Yeah, excellent. And he'll do very well here now, Neil, to get out of this and not leave a chance for Stephen Maguire to win this frame.
Yeah, it looks like he's obligated to leave those 2 reds as they are by the pink. They're not potable really, so why split them up and take the risk? Perhaps the swerve on the single red on the top cushion, try and drop onto it, is the best choice. At least I don't think that pot's that lower red. I don't think it does. Lost my confidence a bit, John.
Well, he'll be very pleased with the outcome there. He was in a lot of trouble and he's got it safe. That's all he could hope for.
Good attempt to get behind the black, but it was unlikely. Chance for Neil Robertson to get this in behind the brown. Okay, the red's going to come into the middle of the table again, so perhaps he won't choose that. more containing safety shot, but behind the brown it's possible. Could have played it thinner. Don't know why he didn't try to play it thinner.
Yeah, maybe he was a little bit concerned if he played it thinner that the red, and he didn't cover it with the brown. Could have been possible, but he was trying to get the cue ball tight on the baulk cushion. He didn't achieve that, so there's not a lot of pressure on the shot for Stephen. Where's the? It's okay, but once again, not the best shot. If you don't get that cue ball tight to the baulk cushion, you leave your opponent with his hand on the table. You fully expect him to play a better safety shot.
Thank you.
Tough tactical first frame. Fair to say that both players could be sitting in their chair with a 1-0 scoreline. Perhaps Stephen Maguire having had the best chances so far, but it's always nerve-wracking first frame. First frame can dictate the pattern of the rest of the match, although not necessarily this week at the Masters. Been so many comebacks. Good try to get behind the brown. An attempt for Neil Robertson that's made much more difficult because of the cueing here. You'd expect to get this if he could get the cue lower. A long way out, as you can see. And whilst he wouldn't have been disappointed to have missed it, he will be disappointed to have missed it by so far. Well, third time lucky for Stephen Maguire, clinching this frame.
Well, that's amazing. He was only looking for the red and the black, and he had the first frame in his pocket. How has he missed this?
One.
Do you think there's pressure on knocking out one of the big names of the game? Even that comes into the equation?
Well, it could do, but I think what you alluded to, that the players set so much store by that first frame, winning the first frame. And I know you were one of them. You know, you get the first frame on the scoreboard, it gives you a little bit of elbow room, if you like, but to have the chances that Stephen's had will really upset him. And he is a bit volatile sometimes.
Neil Robertson looking at the scoreboard. He's got a chance to knock the green out if he wants, and perhaps retain position.
Nine.
Well, he didn't play it. Far be it from me to start picking holes in players' shot selections, but I thought that's why he left himself there. Knock the green into play, keep on the pink, clear the table.
Well, he's played such a poor positional shot on the pink, and I wish he'd have been playing the cannon on the green now.
I mean, at some stage, you know, to win the frame, he's got to knock the green out. Okay, we'll knock it out this way, I suppose. Good work.
Neil Robertson, 9.
Not quite got the snooker.
I'm going to have to think about that when I get home. Should he have played to knock the green out or not? Oh, excellent shot from Steve Maguire.
Yeah, he found a gap there, didn't he, between the green and brown to get it back up to the baulk end.
Yeah, he played it as well. It's the only way you could get that red safe and keep the cue ball under control. A great shot.
And nearly got the snooker, of course. Well, if he'd have kissed the black sort of half ball, he could have had a snooker, but this red is potable. I think he can just cue past the black.
He'd be happy with the outcome. Could be the shot that wins him this frame. Depends on the outcome of this particular escape.
Yeah.
Somebody liked it.
Just the red needed. And in it goes. He's had a few chances, but now that puts him 30 points ahead with just 27 remaining. And this frame now in its 38th minute. I would suggest it's probably going to be the longest frame of the match. I don't think it'll be a long drawn out affair because both these players are good potters, break builders. But this frame will go on a little while longer because one snooker needed. Plenty of reason for Neil Robertson to play on.
Brown and the pink look to be the balls at the moment to play snookers behind.
Two.
Perhaps you could send the green up the table and disturb the black, get it into open play. If you could get the green by the blue, I don't think this is an opportunity to get a good snooker. Move the black, that helps things.
Neil
Big
Robertson,
difference that. That black's now in just about in play for snookering behind.
.28 points of difference, 25 remaining. Now this might be a chance to try and get this cue ball in behind the black, swinging it round off 4 cushions. It's a bit pacey. Not a bad line, but pacey. But for the greenness in the bump of the middle pocket, this has been a lot more difficult snooker. It was an easy swerve. Don't want the double kiss. Is it going to go in the middle? Well, he's got it safe. Okay, it was a snooker, but very easy to hit.
Not a bad line. Has it got the pace to just going behind the brown if it touches it? Bit of trouble for Steve Maguire. That black is acting as a bit of hindrance. Great shot.
The one thing you always concentrate on, if you don't fancy getting the snooker, make certain you get the object ball safe. Because if you don't, then you won't get many more chances to play the snooker. Tell you what, that wasn't a bad effort.
It was a great effort.
He's put them.
Awful outcome in some respects for the blue and the brown. But having said that, you've got to get a good snooker at this level to really get a chance of getting points out of your opponent. And where the brown and the blue have gone, if you were to get a good one, tough to get in behind them though. It's been a fascinating first frame, totally different from this afternoon's play. I think by now Ronnie was in the press conference.
Well, certainly at the mid-session interval, I think. Well, I was trying to screw off the side cushion and get in behind the black, but didn't get into it enough. So now it's 2 snookers required, and Stephen Maguire will be feeling a lot more comfortable now. Well, if he misses the brown on the way up, he could have got in behind it, but it's not the case. And if it is a snooker with the pink, it's easy to hit coming off the left-hand side cushion, but I think Stephen can get through to this green.
It's been a tough first frame to win. Tougher one to lose as well. Neil Robertson's making some fantastic efforts to get snooker here. Doesn't look like he's going to get them though.
Yeah, the pink's not gone too bad now if you're trying to get a snooker at this end of the table, but it'll all be history if this green goes in. But it hasn't. So certainly an opportunity here to lay a snooker, but remember now, he needs 2 snookers. 32 behind, 25 remaining. That's no good. And as I said earlier, if you can't get the snooker, you must get the object ball safe. So this should seal it. We're in the 46th minute of this first frame. Where's the cue ball going?
3.
So that should clinch it. And I think we'll have just seen the longest frame of the session. I can't see him taking this long over the rest
7.
of the frames. But it was a big frame. Always nice to get the first frame on the scoreboard. And that is exactly what Steve Maguire's done. Neil Robertson won't continue now. He notes his concession to our referee, Michaela Tabb. Long drawn out affair, but it was Steve Maguire who comes out happy. He's 1 up.